Oh, girl, we doing the wrong thing. Lord, we already screwing up. That's all right. I'm gonna go back to this. This is what I wanted. Thank you. Oh, this is so trap. This is so trap. What's going on, everybody? I hope that you all are doing well on today. I don't know why I sound like this, but damn it, I just feel like sounding like this. I'm over here drinking some of this sparkling water, y'all. Because when you partake of the herb like myself, sometimes your mouth starts to get a little dry and you need something to kind of revitalize everything, wake up the taste buds and stuff. So shout out to LaCroix water, okay? Come on, key lime flavor. It's been a minute since I've done another installment of Ascension, which is the book that we are reading and that we're finishing up. We are on chapter 10. I think there are, hold on one second, y'all. I don't want to spill none of this on my stuff because I'll cry. I think we have how many chapters, y'all? Give me 1 second. Excuse me. This is so last minute. Come on, y'all. Where's it at? But we have 5 more chapters, y'all. So we're already like 2/3 there, y'all. And like I said, it's been a minute since I've done a chapter from this book. I know a lot of stuff has been happening. I haven't really been paying attention. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Excuse me, y'all. I'm burping and stuff. Excuse me. I haven't really been paying attention to what's been going on in the YouTube streets lately and for a minute now, because when I tell y'all that I've been in my nomad kind of like to myself, like manifesting a certain level of awareness that only comes when you are to yourself. You know what I mean? And I feel like I'm being prepared for something greater. And it's just getting myself together and getting myself prepared. And I know a lot of people close to me kind of feel that. You know what I mean? I haven't really been reaching out to a lot of other people unless it's business related. Okay, that's cool. But I'm really in this space now where I'm really delving into the depths of BubzDaGawd and really exploring my mind, exploring my psyche, and exploring the dark parts of me that I have neglected for a very, very long time. Parts of me that were still struggling to be loved. Parts of me that I do not fully understand, but willing to trust myself and look through the lens of love to actually find the king, find the God, find the awareness in an area that has been so neglected. So, I just feel like I'm in my Christ 40 days and 40 nights kind of mode, where I'm figuring myself out, and I'm also learning not to be guilty or feel guilty about that. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, what I'm doing is for my best interest, for myself. And that should be the overall goal for anybody in their lives, to make sure that physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in all other realms and all other facets, to know who you are, because everything outside of you is going to fail. Everything outside of you is going to change. Nothing lasts forever. But what can last forever is the peace of mind, the awareness, and the connection that you have. And I feel like once we develop a strong enough foundation for that, we'll be able to walk out what it is that we preach and we teach and we talk about. Because I've seen a lot of people. Well, shout out to everybody that came in. Hey, Stop by Stevie. Hey, what's up? Let's talk. Thank y'all. And it's so crazy because the name of this chapter is called Enlightenment. And a lot of times, I'll tell you how this all started actually before we get into the chapter, because it's been a minute. I kind of want to just check in with y'all and stuff. Because of the whole Little Mermaid situation, I forgot that I did a video 3 years ago in reference to the information when it first came out, and all of the racist rhetoric that came along with it, all of the what they call them, caricatures and sketchy offensive cartoons came out about it, and I gave my commentary about it, about how whitewashing has been happening. And now that the trailer has actually come out, and this movie is coming out next year, so it's been manifested, and we're all going to see the full manifestation. I can only imagine the heat that's going to come with this movie, especially in this social climate now, with white fragility and all the other type of stuff, which that's another video for another day. But one of my supporters, shout out to Roki, okay, longtime supporter, ended up sharing on his Instagram stories some of the commentary that I shared in that particular video. And what's so crazy is that the only thing I remember from that video until today is the song that I made at the end. But to actually go back and look at it, I started to go back down memory lane in reference to like my older YouTube videos, in reference to BubzDaGawd. Like I said, I have an entirely different YouTube channel that had content from 2011 all the way up to 2018, which I'm starting to kind of reintegrate some of those videos to kind of show y'all where I came from. You know what I mean? And there was a series I've done on my channel, which I encourage you guys to go forth and look at that whenever you get the chance. It was back in the day when BubzDaGawd was looking to did a motherfucker. I'm just telling you, looking a mess. Okay, but it was the lowest part of my life, and I was looking at that again and just listening and watching that series and seeing where I was. It was just like, it's a total transformation, and it's getting better. It's getting better, and I'm growing and evolving. So it just reminded me that everything that I'm going through, this would happen. That's why I appreciate, the video archives that I've done. And I don't care about the views. I don't care. I just want the right people watching. I just want the people who are going to be able to receive this in their own way, to take what is theirs and leave the rest alone. That is what my purpose is, that I'm starting to walk in even stronger now. Because again, I'm about community. I'm about the collective. I'm about us. I want us to win. And in order for us to win, we have to pay attention to ourselves individually, because we make up the whole. And one way to get to that is the name of the chapter is tonight, y'all, or this evening, is Enlightenment. So what I'm going to do, okay, because y'all know how I do, I got to hit my shit one more time. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, hit my stuff one more time. Give me a little sip of water before we go ahead and dive into this chapter. Just to let y'all know again and remind y'all, I'm BubzDaGawd, okay? With that being said, not every word that I say may sound correct. Okay, you might be listening and you might be in a trance, and I say something, you be like, what the hell is that? Forgive me. That Andrew Caldwell's spirit is trying to get on me, and he told me that he not getting no more. He delivered, but he won't leave me alone. So he might come through a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I might have to kind of pause and rewind and say a thing over again, but I hope that the message through whoever the messenger is, despite all of the quirks and qualms of the messenger, I hope that the message is fully received. So I'm gonna do that real quick. I encourage y'all, if y'all are able to, because I know I'm kind of early. I usually do this shit at like night, where y'all at home and you can do stuff and kind of be chilled and relax. Because when the nighttime comes, that's when everybody real side come out. I'm just saying. But if you can, get you something to smoke on, get you something to sip on. If you doing something in the background, hey, if you're doing something and that's the thing in the forefront of your mind, put it on the background, okay? While you washing dishes, while you driving, while you doing something, just listen to it, okay? Okay, girl, let me shut the hell up and smoke my shit. That's why I'm over here rambling, because the weed, like, bitch, come to me. Give me 1 second, y'all. Okay, y'all, let me come back. Yes, we back. Shout out to I would tell y'all what the weed strand of the day is, but I got a mixed bag, so I'm just gonna name one of them, because it's probably ain't even the one I'm smoking, but damn it, I don't care, it's good. Shout out to the strand of the day called Cement Shoes, okay? Cement Shoes is wonderful, it's amazing. I believe it's a sativa, and I love sativa weed because it's more of a head high, more of a creative eye. Excuse me. But anyway, let's jump into this shit, y'all. Hold on. All right, y'all. This is chapter 10, entitled Enlightenment. Is y'all ready for some enlightenment, or is y'all ready for some enlightenment? Let's get it. Ooh, this is so extra. Enlightenment. There is no distance between you and your good. What exactly is enlightenment? Everyone has been talking about it for years, but what is it? Is it different from the salvation of the Christian tradition? Is it the same for Buddhists, Hindus, Taoists, Muslims, Christians, agnostics, atheists? What exactly is the voice of God? Can anyone experience it? Can there be modern prophets and anyone, sages, or were there any? Oh Lord, I'm messing up already. I told y'all, BubzDaGawd. Can there be modern prophets and sages? Or were they a historical phenomenon only, never found in the modern world? Or do they ever exist at all? Was their supposed existence only historical oh Lord, I am not prepared. Aggrandizement, Lord, aggrandizement, I believe that's the word. Are miracles real, or are they fantasy merely? Do these questions deeply move you? If they seem impractical to you, of little relevance to your life and your world, they probably don't interest you much. If this is so for you, what does fascinate you? What interests a modern human being? Are we all content with the quality of our lives? Do we, any of us care what is the possible range of human experience? Or are we too interested in our financial and social standing to care about anything else? What if expansion of consciousness resulted in greater success in every area of our concern? And what if it were truly possible to do anything we desired, anything at all? Would we be interested then? For some of us, it may be that we were once interested, but then we stumbled across a teacher or a teaching or a minister or a church or a science and are now completely content with receiving answers from others and rarely or never seek from our own inner truth. Or it may be that we despaired of even finding answers and abandoned our quest. Another way to find no answer is to try a little of everything available and deeply experiencing nothing. We occasionally have some people come and learn some of the Shaya techniques. These people have a habit of trying everything they find, thrashing about wildly, seeking everywhere for truth, finding it nowhere. This grab bag approach to enlightenment is never successful. Only by diving deep into one's own heart can progress ever be made. Only by seeking within are answers ever found. Adopting someone else's belief system is no answer. Blindly following yet one more teacher or teaching is ultimately pointless. The true teacher will always point the finger of understanding back at the heart of the seeker. There only is progress possible. The true teacher always seeks independence in her followers, never slavish devotion. Growth comes from the inside out, always, always. Within each of us lies a treasure house of undiscovered wealth. Beauty greater than human eyes have ever beheld is hidden inside our hearts. Wisdom greater than human minds have ever known is cached within the secret jeweled chamber within our breast. Safety, security, freedom from fear of every kind lie there, as do fulfillment of every desire, calmness from every storm, a loving hand to dry every tear, a peaceful balm to soothe every heart. What can be done to liberate our hidden genius? Even modern psychology has declared that the average person uses a frighteningly small percentage of the mental potential available. Most agree that only 5 to 10% of our human capacity is employed by the average adult. What a tragic waste of life that so much of our inner mind is never used, lies forever untapped, unappreciated, unknown. Lying inside each of us is a magnificent reservoir of creativity and brilliance. It is not difficult to learn how to tap this inner repository. What stands in the way is just habit. It is habit that restricts the use of our minds. It is habit that keeps us believing in a limited life of ups and downs, of pleasure and pain, of success and failure. Any habit can be broken or retrained. If it is our beliefs that keep the mind chained to a tiny fraction of its full potential, these beliefs can be changed. Ascension is a systematic procedure for re-educating the mind to free itself from judgment and condemnation. This is a completely automatic process. Once begun, it continues much by itself. The mind is similar to a phonographic record. There are grooves in our brains, neuronal circuits, formed by repeated experiences and thoughts. The more we perform a specific action or have a specific thought, the more deeply the grooves are cut into our brains. This is something of a curse as far as life-damaging habits are concerned, but it is, of course, a great blessing as well. Life would be extremely impractical if we had to try to remember how to walk every time we took a step, for example. It is possible to retrain the mind so that the deepest grooves are those that lead to expansion of consciousness, to liberation. Every technique of concentration attempts to do this by force. Every psychologist and and psychiatrists are attempting, however blindly, to undo the deepest patterned behaviors and replace them with a greater degree of holistic autonomy. Every good religious leader hopes to accomplish a lessening of the negative behavioral patterns of his followers by an introduction of higher spiritual power. We honor and respect all useful approaches to this transformation of human awareness from the field of problems to the field of all solutions, the source of all that is. From our experience, it is clear that it is not difficult to change life. It is, in fact, perfectly easy. Let me give you an example. If you adore German chocolate cake is nasty as hell. Ugh. And assuming you don't feel you are overweight, you are not dieting, have no physical problems or mental compunctions about eating sugar or fat, no reasons of any kind not to enjoy German chocolate, and you are hungry and someone offers you a piece, will it be difficult to take it and eat it and enjoy it? But what will happen if you feel that you are overweight, and you are dieting, are concerned about your blood sugar and cholesterol? You just finished a huge 7-course meal. You're counting your pennies and it costs $7.50 a slice. If you do decide to eat it, will you enjoy it then? How often do we do exactly this to ourselves? We invest a vast amount of our emotional, spiritual, and intellectual strength into the fulfillment of a desire, all the while undermining our efforts with a continual chorus of counter doubts and desires. Some of these are often so habitual or so well hidden that we don't even realize what we are doing to ourselves until it is too late. The human mind is a fascinating tool. It is sufficiently complex to do anything at all. The number of possible combinations and permutations of the neurons in the human brain is larger than the number of atoms in the entire universe. This is a truly amazing, nearly infinitely complex machine, capable of realizing any truth, of having any experience. The human brain is sufficiently subtle that it can even experience consciousness itself, the most abstract essence of everything. If this remarkable machine can act in a completely unified manner, the power of its thought force is strong enough to do anything. This is what Christ was speaking of when he declared that if your faith is like a grain of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. The power of the perfectly concentrated mind is quite literally unlimited. But the power of the divided mind is weak, ineffectual. If we desire a thing, the trick to accomplishing the desire is not to undermine the desired with a myriad of counter desires. This again is a habit. The mind can be trained to think one pointedly, or it can continue to think as most human minds think, in conflict and diversity. Ascension's simple suggestion is that this process of retraining is not only effortless, but easy, completely natural, and extremely quick. Part of the secret is to charm the mind during every phase of this transformation. See, the mind is always greedy for more experience, more love, more peace, more stimulation, more knowledge, always more. The fortunate fact is that the field is most already lies within. The fortunate fact is that the field of most already lies within. The fortunate fact is that the field of most already lies within. The mind just needs to learn how to take the correct angle. Then the entire process is perfectly automatic. Indeed, it will be impossible to stop the new grooves in the brain from deepening and intensifying until the older grooves are overshadowed and eventually erased. The reason for this is that the natural state of human consciousness is enlightenment. The human mind would rather function with flawless and one-pointed desiring than in any other way. It would rather permanently experience its most expanded state than any more limited quality of its being. This requires only the slightest of modifications in the way it has been taught to view itself and its world. This miraculous transformation occurs automatically. Hold on, let me grab my little pop filter screen. I forgot about that. Oh, I promise y'all it's gonna get better. You gotta start somewhere, okay? Start somewhere. That's how you work, okay? Primarily, it is guilt and fear that keeps the mind caught in the belief that it is not enlightened. Primarily, okay? It is guilt and fear that keeps the mind caught in the belief that it is not enlightened. This may not be immediately obvious, but a careful and honest scrutiny of your own mind will reveal that there are usually only two kinds of thoughts. those that are based in love and are unifying, and those that are based in fear and are dividing. If you closely watch your mind for even 5 minutes, you will probably be quite astounded by the myriad of pointless and mutually contradictory thoughts and desires you experience. We have in our own possession the most incredible machine in the universe, capable of experiencing any reality, competent to discover any truth, equipped to accomplish any desire. What is typically being done with this magnificent machine? The standard mode of operation is to switch between mutually contradictory thoughts and desires dozens of times every minute. The standard mode of operation is to switch between mutually contradictory thoughts and desires dozens of times every minute. If the mind were a radio receiver, it would be as if we were being switched between channels every second or so. It would make for a noisy, unpleasant reception, kind of hard to follow. In fact, it would be so hard to follow that you would feel exhausted after trying to listen to it for a few hours. You would feel forced to turn it off and just listen to nothing at all for a time. This is our experience in the waking state. The mind is a receiver of perceptions, images, and thoughts. They file thought, they file through, they file through it in an unending succession until it becomes so exhausted it has to shut down to restore itself from being badly depleted. Hold on, let me rewind this because we're going to do this right, okay? The mind is a receiver of perceptions, images, and thoughts. They file through it in an unending succession until it becomes so exhausted it has to shut down to restore its badly depleted molecular resources and subtle powers. Hence, we sleep. Ain't it good to kind of check yourself when you need to and get it right? Okay, there's no such thing as perfection, only improvement. Praise Him. The mind is not just a receiver of sensory information. It is sufficiently subtle to connect directly to the mind stuff that is the fundamental constituent of the universe. The mind is a machine that connects you, the individual, to the universal source of everything, to the Ascendant. When the mind is one-pointed, when its energies are concentrated as one, it is capable of not only experiencing the Ascendant, but of transmitting its desires into the Ascendant. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into the next part of this chapter, which is called the Ascendant. But before that, I need to drink some water, y'all, okay? I got through that, y'all. But it's okay. If you mess up, that's all right. Just correct yourself. Don't judge yourself. It is what it is. Move forward. That's all you can do. Okay? Praise Him. Give me a few seconds, y'all. A few seconds. All right, y'all. Ooh, it's been a minute since I read this damn book. Okay, y'all. Now we're moving into the sub part of this chapter called the Ascendant. Is y'all ready for the Ascendant? Is y'all ready for the connectedness? Okay. The Ascendant. When we perceive the external world, we are looking at our definitions of forms and objects, but not the underlying unified field in which they appear. Similarly, in our inner world, feelings and thoughts clutter our awareness, but the awareness of awareness itself is never known. The ascendant is the space in which things exist. It is the essence of out. It is the essence out of which everything is made. Thoughts, feelings, computers, my auntie and his phone, this microphone, everything, okay? This is not a void of, as some have claimed, okay? This is not an empty or negative reality. Rather, the ascendant is a positive state of fullness, of infinite potential energy out of which everything comes. Since the ascendant underlies and permeates everything into creation, it is called omnipresent. Everything comes from it and exists only because of it. Nothing can or does exist in isolation. Everything is composed of the ascendant, continually flowing in and out of manifestation. The ascendant cannot be measured or defined. We can assign a name to it, like infinite or unbounded or absolute, but these simply still imply it is something. Any name for the ascendant or belief about the ascendant is not the experience of the ascendant. It is only when we abandon our instances on attempting to limit the It is only when we abandon our insistence on attempting to limit the unlimited by assigning waking state concepts to it that the infinite light of the primal world dawns within. Jesus Christ. Lord. We working. Freed from mental fabrications about the nature of reality, awareness is experienced as absolute and identical with everything that is. The ascendant is without prior cause. It is its own cause. It is ever the same, unchanging. Like water, it is not altered regardless how much dirt is added to it. Only the clarity of it is shrouded while its essential nature remains the same. The ascendant is perfect stability. It is the ground of all grounds. There is no experience of duality in the ascendant. There is no difference between the self and the self. There is no separation. Like a peak experience while painting, writing, or composing music, there is no subject or object duality. There is no thought in the ascendant. There is no feeling. There is nothing other than silence, eternal, self-sufficient. The ascendant is the ultimate reality from which everything has come and which everything continues to exist forever. To experience this as our true nature is enlightenment. To remain ignorant of this means remaining caught by the boundaries of illusion, life after life, caught on the wheel of samsara, of cyclic change, Through ascending, the ascendant is experienced as our own essential nature, as awareness of awareness itself, as pure, unlimited consciousness. This is the experience of infinite freedom. This is the liberation from the boundaries of the ego. Since the ascendant is the source of everything, recognizing that I am that means that I recognize that I am all pervasive. This is the state of isness, free from any and every duality, freed from the sense of myness and even amness. The ascendant simply is, and that I am. Even though the experience of the ascendant is impossible to define in words, it is a real experience. In fact, the experience of the ascendant is more real than any waking state experience. The experience of the unbounded is infinitely abstract and yet infinitely concrete. Having once tasted this clearly, life cannot remain the same. Baby, I'm telling you, okay? There is no previous behavior pattern, habit, judgment, or belief that can withstand the force of unbounded awareness. For the ascendant is the root of everything. When the mind is experiencing the silence of the ascendant, there is no motion of thought. Like a perfectly still pond untouched by the wind, there are no waves, no ripples, no motion of any kind when the mind is opened to the experience of the ascendant. This state is measurable by the Lord electric. What is this word? Girl, some sort of some sort of phallograph. That's what we call it, girl. Coherence of brain waves is the objective measurement of the subjective experience of ascending. The mind consumes vastly less energy when it floats in the ascendant. And because of this, the body settles down to its deepest possible state of rest. In this perfect state of infinite silence, there is no necessity for breath. The individual retains life by recognizing that he or she or they, okay, because we progressive over here, okay, or not, or non-binary, whatever you believe you is, okay, no matter what, is part of universal life, in no way different or separate from eternal existence. In other words, life continues because life is the essence of the ascendant. In this state, no decay is possible, no illness, no death, no suffering, no pain. And now we jump on to the next section of this chapter called Dreaming. One of the most fascinating facts about the Ascendant is that any impulse of energy that moves there immediately reacts within it to manifest form. Our dreams at night imperfectly react with the ascendant to produce visions of unlikely events of anything and everything. Because we are not usually very conscious while sleeping, we have little control of our mind and machine interacting with the ascendant. Therefore, it rarely feels as if we are guiding our dreams. This can be changed by practice. There are potentially great gains to be had by studying dreams. Since the Ascendant is the repository of infinite intelligence, and since many of our inhibitions about contacting, girl, what? And since many of our inhibitions about contacting the Ascendant are relaxed while we are sleeping, a high degree of subtle order underlies our dreams. Understanding what they are telling us, learning what messages are coming to us from our higher self in the field of dreams makes a fascinating field of study. Mastering the pure creativity of dreams can open the door to mastering the ability to create anything desired. Dreaming was sacred in many ancient civilizations. It was believed that dreams opened us to the abode of celestial forces. Therefore, no intelligent person ignored the advice gained from the supernatural realms entered in dreams. Some highly advanced societies built temples where individuals would go to dream and gain the counsel of the gods. For example, in ancient Egypt and Greece, girl, fuck Greece, had many hundreds of such. Even today, certain Aborigines hold that the most important state of consciousness is dreaming. A common feature of this belief is that our waking state mind is in fact being dreamed by someone else. This understanding was also found in ancient India. Vishnu sleeps on the serpent Sesha, the repository of all previous universes, on the cosmic ocean, the Ascendant. His dreams create universes of name and form, one of which we happen to inhabit. This mirrors truth. The waking state of consciousness is not absolute. Our experience of life is not solid or unchanging, but is produced by our beliefs and judgments. If we wish, we can change our mind. This necessarily gives us a different perspective on life. Suffering is not necessary in waking any more than it is in dreaming. We can change our perceptions and experiences by changing our beliefs. We do not have to remain bound to our spatial, temporal, cultural, familial, or past interpretations of the world. And yet, for most, particularly those who are not evolving to higher levels of consciousness, the dictates of rationality and empirical reasoning appears absolute. It is difficult, if not impossible, to rewrite the lifelong dream that our waking state. It is difficult, if not impossible, to rewrite the lifelong dream that is our waking state drama. Come through correction. But for everyone, the dreaming state is free of all restrictions, which is exactly why so many have had hard time understanding the symbols hiding in dreams. Even every dream can serve as a source of healing or insight. Dreaming integrates our experience of the outer world with our ancient internal knowledge gathered from countless lives. There is no barrier to the future and the past in the dream state. Therefore, the total amount of variety of information conveyed in dreams is awesome. Some of this information includes direct contact with our higher self, precognition, past life or future life experiences, mythological dramas, communication with celestial beings, my tongue, Lord. Andrew Caldwell, back up. Hits. Okay. Analysis and exploration of waking state reality, deep-rooted stresses, fears, wild humor and fantasy. All of this, including this stuttering ass midget, is wrapped up in metaphorical and symbolic experience that may or may not ever make sense to the waking state mind. Since we are freed from the inhibitions, girl, somebody calling me? Oh, girl, hold on. Hold on. Hold on. This is so ghetto. Hello, what's going on? Huh? I'm doing a live right now. You better be on the plane or something? Okay, can I call you after I'm done? I'm on YouTube. I'm reading the last chapter of this book. This Sean, y'all. Say hey to Sean. Okay, I'm gonna call you back when I get done. Can I call you back when I get done? Okay, just let me know when you're free and we'll work it out. All right. Peace. Thank you. Messing up the music. I'm like, who finna call me? When my music cut off, I said, oh hell no. Somebody finna call me. I thought the music was done. I was like, damn, I talked this long. Let's get back to it, y'all. Okay, let's go back to this paragraph right here. Since we are freed from the inhibitions and restrictions of our adopted worldviews and dreams, they can be an excellent path for self-knowledge. There are no accepted societal standards, no familial dictates, no ingrained defenses from our belief systems. Full knowledge of spiritual truth is therefore less hidden from us while dreaming. The most serious consequences of our waking state universe are the stresses that lodge in our subtle bodies. These are released during ascension and during dreaming. to ascend while dreaming is a powerful way to accelerate this process. Dreaming any desired state, directing dreams in any desired direction, is the natural result of expansion of consciousness. This naturally occurs when one is awake during sleep in the higher stages of enlightenment. Before then, this ability develops to whatever extent awareness can be maintained while falling asleep. Waking up while asleep, realizing that you are asleep and dreaming, okay, is one sign of the developing witnessing quality of perpetual consciousness. This form of dreaming, lucid dreaming, most often occurs during REM sleeping, rapid eye movement sleep, which comes late at night after a full night's rest. Focusing on the base of the throat while falling asleep can cause lucid dreaming. The awareness typically gathers at the base of the spine or in the heart during deep sleep, and the solar plexus or throat during dreaming. Growth to freedom. During dream analysis, properly undertaking can, in time, lead to complete enlightenment. But there are faster ways, okay? Because we love to work smart and not hard, okay? Praise Him. If we could only learn to interact with the Ascendant in, see, I'm messing up, y'all. I'm getting excited. If we could only learn to interact with the Ascendant with our waking minds, then the fulfillment of our desires would be inevitable and instantaneous, okay? The Ascendant is the source of everything. Nothing lies outside of it. Nothing is built of anything other than it. Nothing can exist for the smallest fraction of a moment outside of it. It is the conscious part of consciousness. It is the part of existence that exists. It is all that ever was, all that will ever be. You, with your human nervous system, have by your birth been given the ultimate gift. A machine that can not only experience the Ascendant, but direct it in any way you choose. You are actually already directing the Ascendant all the time, but if your mind is not continually focused on one desire at a time, your mutually contradictory thoughts and desires cancel each other out. I mean, not entirely, of course, or else you would be in a catatonic, schizophrenic state. You would do nothing but sit and stare off into space. And baby, I was almost there, okay? I'm just saying. Since you are, reading or listening to this, it is safe to assume you are not so self-contradictory that you are sailing in entirely useless circles in the boat of your mind. The mind in contact with the Ascendant is like a perfectly still pool. Thoughts and desires are like stones dropped into the pool. If one stone falls, perfectly what is this? Concentric? I guess perfectly concentric ripples spread beautifully over the water and reach the far shore. If two stones are dropped, there will be crests and valleys that cross over each other, emphasizing some, canceling others. If a whole handful of stones hit the water at once, chaos is the result. There is no order left. The reflection in the pond is broken into a myriad of imperfect shards. The full moon can be sailing serenely above, but the pond will show only frenetic motion. I believe that's the word. On any sandy beach, the kind and quality of the waves very much determine the shape of the sand. The kind and quality of our thought waves very much determine the overall shapes of our mind. The ripples caused by our thoughts and desires produce both immediately surface and long-term underlying effects. When the pattern of thinking and desiring is chaotic, the result will necessarily be abnormal experiences, mental, emotional, or physical, and abnormal behavior. The extent of the chaotic thinking directly determines the extent of the disorder in life. When the pattern of thinking and desiring is orderly, the result is health, happiness, joy, progress, creativity, fulfillment. This may be easy to grasp intellectually regarding the individual life. If my thinking is disordered, my actions and life will be disordered. But since the Ascendant is the source of everything, it is also true that my chaotic thinking will react with all parts of the universe at all times, at all places. Like salmon returning to their hatching grounds to spawn, there are no accidents of fate. There are only our own thoughts returning to their source of our individual minds. Okay, here we go. There is quite literally no one to blame, no one to condemn, no one to judge in any way whatsoever. My desires have created my universe. Just for me. Your desires have created your universe. Just for you. The fact that so many of our universes seem so similar and seem to share so many common features is a happy or a useful coincidence that defines our common humanity. Those who individuals' universes are much out of synchrony with the majority of humanity tend to end up in mental hospitals or prisons, no shade. This implies that the best cure for all diseases, mental or physical, is the same: reconnecting the individual mind consciously to the Ascendant. The human mind is so infinitely flexible that it can stretch in its experience from the most concrete to the most abstract, from the physical reality experienced by our senses to the abstract internal reality of consciousness itself. The unifying thread of life is love. From the most abstract to the most concrete, at every level of existence, at every level of experiencing, runs this slender thread. It seems delicate, a fragile thing, easily lost or broken, but it is not so. It is more obdurate than granite. I believe that's the word. It can never be broken, never diminished, never lost, and it is forever growing, primarily by being given away. We cannot fall out of it, although sometimes we mistakenly believe that we do. Rather, what happens when we feel we have fallen out of love is that our mutually contradictory projected desires have made it impossible for our relationship to provide further growth. This is the kindest and most accurate description, for underlying all our desires. The mirage of contradictory impulses we dropped into the still waters of the Ascendant, there forever remains our original intention, crystalline, flawless, pure, directing our being through situation after situation, life after life, world after world. And what is that original intention? It is to return to our source. We are not and never will be at home here. We will always feel that we are the girl. See, I need to be able to look at these words before I read. Yeah, I'm gonna say dispossessed. Okay, dispossessed wanderers of time. Okay, that truly we are. Like Pelennor of the Arthurian legends, we have lost our kingdoms and queendoms and wander aimlessly about, slowly rusting since our homes has become invisible to us. Yet is our exile self-imposed. We chose to be here. We can choose to return whence we came whenever we so desire. Nothing can stand between us and our reunion with our source. for we never truly left the Ascendant. We only thought we did. We have traveled exceedingly far in our imaginations, but it is fantasy merely. The Ascendant will wait patiently for us to remember throughout all eternity if need be. For we are the Ascendant. No matter how long we forget this simple fact, no matter how long we adamantly deny that this is true or continue to build up false dreams and strange beliefs, the Ascendant will patiently wait for us. There is no thought we can think, no action we can perform that will ever change the simple fact. The Ascendant is the root of all that we are. It is the fullest expression of all we shall ever be. It is the source not only for us, but of everything, everywhere, at all times. Life, therefore, is extremely easy to understand. If this seems difficult to grasp, it is only because, or it can only be because, there is some part of it that has not been properly understood. It can only be because there are still some dark areas of our personalities that have not yet been addressed. How can we change this in any way that works? Oh, girl, and we are done. We are done, y'all. This was chapter 10 entitled Enlightenment. Again, y'all gonna have to, and even with me, like my quirks and my qualms. That's why I acknowledge me stuttering. That's why I acknowledge the way that I talk sometimes and make fun of it and stuff like that, because that's a part of me learning how to love myself and heal parts of myself that I dealt with growing up. You know what I mean? And again, this book is just information. Like even in this book here with the Ashayas, I believe that's what they call what they go by. They're not saying that their practices or even what they call it or their interpretation of it is the end all be all. What people have to understand, and even with the religion, the Bible, the Quran, the Torah, all these other books, all these other documents of people connecting with the divine and all these things, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what these other people went through. You have to have your own individual, unique experience. And even with this book, I'm realizing that you will never know until you try things for yourself and you make it your own. You are your own unique individual. You are your own unique creator. And because you are your own unique individual and your own unique creator, you have the ability and the birthright to be able to live your life any way you choose. But why not live it in the best way? And again, that's just a suggestion. I low-key want to read chapter 11 because it's like I haven't been reading this stuff for a minute. It's kind of hitting my soul too. Matter of fact, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and read through chapter 11 because I feel like, because I try to read stuff every day, and it's been a few days I've kind of been like slacking. I ain't even going to say I've been slacking. I've been also doing other areas and forms of self-love too, like making sure that I'm enjoying myself, enjoying my rest time, all that type of stuff. So again, learning to love all aspects of myself. But I really want to read the rest of it. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to read chapter 11. So you're getting 2 chapters tonight. Again, shout out to everybody who is still here, for those who are coming through to peek in, those who are the replay gang. Like, shout out to y'all. And again, this is for those who want to have a different outlook and perspective on certain things. Okay, just to give them that viewpoint so that they can make the necessary choices. Because again, like at the end of this chapter 10, there's a part of us that doesn't understand it, and the only way that we're going to truly understand it is through experience. So I hope that this book and these read-throughs and these podcasts have been beneficial. Even if it's only to one person, that's all that matters. As long as somebody is touched by this, I've done my job. Anyway, y'all, chapter Let me take a drink. Okay, we did a whole chapter. Hold on. Let's take a little break. Brizzake real quick, okay? I think we might change songs too since we do another chapter. Hold on. Let's do that real quick, y'all. Let's try. That's 7 hours long. I can't believe I did that. Hold on, let's try this one. Can we do this one? Let's try this one. I think we can do this one. Let's do that one. All right, y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and take a sip of water. Y'all go ahead and take a few seconds to, I guess, do whatever you're gonna do. Okay, I'm just saying. And hopefully the volume is good. If the volume's too loud, please let me know, because my headphones, it sounds perfect to me, but I want to make sure it's good for y'all, okay? I hope you're not over here hearing me deep throat and power bottom this damn water in my throat. And again, the strand of the video is called Cement Shoes. Okay, shout out to Cement Shoes, because sometimes you gotta be grounded in yourself. You know what I mean? So shout out to the Cement Shoes. I still gotta work out and shit. Alright, y'all, alright. Let's cut this down, son. I'm actually liking what I'm doing, even though I'm still in the baby steps, and even though I'm still, grown in this stuff, you know what I mean? I can't wait to see what this is gonna turn into, because I low-key want to do a book club. I do, and I think what I'm gonna do tonight, because I'm gonna look at some of these books, and I say, matter of fact, I'm gonna put that in my reminder right now, because y'all, sometimes I need to be reminded, okay? Hold on. Pick 3 books for book club. And I'm gonna set this for, let's do 8. That sounds safe. Okay. Anyway, y'all, we're gonna do chapter 11, y'all. I was just gonna do chapter 10, but damn it, we're doing chapter 11, because this book is kind of, it's hidden. And like I said, for me, I've kind of been in my nomad stage. I've kind of been to myself, and a long time ago, when I would have those phases in my life to where I kind of want to be to myself, again in my 20s, I wanted a relationship. It was because of that. I felt bad about that. Like, oh my God, don't nobody want to be with me? Oh my God, I'm so miserable and stuff. It's like, nah, I'm learning to love on me, because I know the mandate on my life. And as I grow in my awareness and my exposure and my social media presence, I know that I'm going into a world. And a wise mystic once said, the hardest thing that we as human beings is going to have to learn how to deal with is that we're going to have to learn how to, what the hell is that? No. We're going to have to learn how to love ourselves and remind ourselves that we're whole and all that, in the midst of living in a world that's going to try to break your ass down, because the world is struggling with their own identities, with their own sanity. You know what I mean? So I'm preparing myself because, baby, I know the level of awareness that my ass is rising in the BubzDaGawd way, girl. Look, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready, okay? I'm just saying, sometimes, look, you work smarter, not harder, okay? I was working hard for 20-something, almost 30 years. Now that I'm 31 and BubzDaGawd is like 1 year old in reference to my eyes as far as full exploration and freedom and truth, girl, baby, I am 1 year old. I am not 31. I am 1, okay? We taking it back. I'm learning all my shit and reclaiming all of my time, okay? But anyway, okay, I would do this instrumental, but I just, them bells and stuff, it's just, I don't know. I could probably go back to the other one. Hey, Roki. Hey to everybody that's still here. Shout out to y'all. Cause there was points in times when I was growing in my social media awareness and stuff like that, as like all the stuff was growing for me. I would sometimes get discouraged because I'd be like, damn, a lot of people don't watch my lives. The only time they watch my lives is for drama and shit. And then I have to remind myself, bitch, do you not see the other people that be here all the damn time? Which is why I really appreciate y'all. Like, I appreciate y'all. I do. Because I'm kind of building my own thing here. I'm trying to build my own type of, uh, how can I say? My own mark on the world, okay? It was when I was younger, I used to have these dreams about doing stuff like this. And as I got older, started realizing my sexuality and how the world looked at that. And I was being told that God don't see me that damn way. It's like, well, damn, how am I going to progress in life? You know what I mean? And then I found relationships and love. And that was the one thing that kind of, I can say it was the one thing that it was the one thing that did stimulate me to do better, because I was getting that love out of somebody else. But learning how to love myself at this point, I understand why Christ asked us, like, girl, let me go in the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights. And I'm not Jesus, because Jesus is his own person, but damn it, I'm gonna take a page out of his book, baby. Okay? Because when I tell you, how can I say this? A lot of, I'm trying to grab this pen, y'all. Give me a second. I have experienced so many boss ass people in my life that it's like for real about this shit, to where it's like, girl, I got to go find myself. I got to go lose myself in love so I can love other people better. And it's like, for a big part of my life, I knew there was something spiritual on me as far as a higher mandate, but I was so afraid. I was so scared to walk in it because of what people was going to think about me, what they were going to say, the judgments of all these other people, girl. And growing up in religion, it was kind of like we talk about it, and we'll rain down heaven and start speaking in tongues and all that stuff when we read the books about other people that went through it. But when we have our own experiences to actually manifest those divine expressions and scenarios and manifestations like those in the books that we reading about and losing our minds about and crying over and stuff, is actually living. It's like we don't know how to do that. So I'm learning how to do that on my own. No supervision, no help, like taking full 100%, 1000% accountability for self. And that's a scary thing, because no matter what happens, you have to realize that it's on you. But when you love yourself, you realize that everything happens for a reason, and you start to experience and validate and love the mystery of God, which means that you don't know what's going to happen. And even if horrible shit happens, who's to say you're not worthy of love? When I went through my ego death through that damn brownie in 2018, baby, there was nothing in religion that prepared me for this. There was nothing in the scriptures that would have prepared me for that situation. There was no song that I ever sung, or anybody on this damn planet in gospel has sung, girl, that made me feel like the way I felt in that damn thing. And I had to experience it. And so many people in this world literally lost their minds to a darker, lower vibration and experience what is known as hell. But there's always freedom. And when there's a will, there is always a way, because When you learn to love dark parts of yourself or other parts that society and the world and religion, all this other stuff has taught you not to love, that's when you really start truly walking in what is known as unconditional love, which is God. Because first of all, God allowed it to be here. So if God ain't want the shit here, it wouldn't be here. But finding that love in you. And that's why me, as a black, gay, gender-loving leprechaun, baby, I'm built all type of abominable ways according to a lot of people, girl. And I'm going to show people how God is showing out and experience that. And I want for everybody to realize that you all deserve that same experience of living your best life. Y'all are aware in y'all life right now. It's not a coincidence. I would suggest, I ain't gonna tell y'all what to do because y'all grown, but I would suggest that y'all go ahead and really strengthen your self-love game. Keyword self. Because everything outside of you gonna pass away, but the one thing that you can control, that God, source, universe, has given you full 1,000 complete over level 9,000 type of energy and kingship and supremacy over, is your thoughts, your emotions, your world. Okay? I'm taking a sip of water, y'all. Hold on. Maybe. Exactly, Spicy. What you just said. Oh, I'm on another instrumental. I might just put this one back on. Yeah, I'm gonna put this one back on. I'm gonna do that one again. Yeah, because that's the only one. I'm about to find some new ones and figure it out something. But you're absolutely right, Spicy. You said so true. We strive to be Christ-like, right? That's how the saying goes. God uses imperfect people to do great things throughout the entire Bible. That is true. But I mean, that is true. That is true. Like it and I think that's the reason why a lot of these things are being quote unquote put in people's faces, because it's trying to get you to love, especially if you say that you are Christ-like. That's why I'm like, are y'all Christ-like or are y'all God-like? And what type of God are y'all fashioning yourselves over and under? But that's the thing. Like, it gets to a point to where we have to be about it. According to the scriptures, the book, because again, it's the only way we can narrate this whole situation. You know what I'm saying? But he didn't walk around with a book. He was the living word. And he was even saying, don't worship me as the person. It's the mind in me. To where I am where you are, and going to even darker depths that y'all don't probably even know about yourselves, and saying that love is there, being a representation of love. Because according to the narrative, he went to hell first. He descended before he ascended. So to me, allegorically speaking, metaphysically speaking, symbolically speaking, and even for me in my own personal experience with my ego death, I was literally in hell. Like I said, I was watching my ego death series earlier today. That was like, wow, it just reminded me of where I am. Not where I am. What am I saying? Girl. Not where I am, girl, because I surely ain't there, bitch. Trust me. But where I used to be and where I am now, shall I say? Excuse me. Because it was like, wow, just experiencing that level of dark energy. A lot of people don't survive that. And that's why they say the pathway to hell is wide, because it's so easy to get caught in that, especially in a world, in a society that doesn't really teach or emphasize spiritual knowledge and healing and application and how to do it. And that's why a lot of these books, I'm so grateful for my grandmother. And it's so funny because once again, my Ego Death series, the catalyst for that in reference to me constructing that and deciding to document that was my grandmother's passing and her celebration. And here it is, all these books that she's had that I got is over here, just got me just straight up in knowledge mode. And I'm grateful for social media too, because it's like the world we live in. I'm also an introvert, and everything's moving to online and digital and all this other type of stuff, and people making money from the house. It's like, baby, this is the best time, baby, especially for an introvert. Hell yeah, I get to be in the house. not be in the house forever. Hell no. No, there's so much life to live. But taking the time out to really just get to know more about yourself. Because the more you know about you, the more efficient you'll be able to operate. The more you'll be able to realize that you have boundaries and to honor those boundaries. Like, one thing that I'm still learning for myself is learning how to say no and not feel guilty about it. Taking time and say no, like, and then not really having to have to explain myself either. If it's something that I'm doing and the love is there, I hope that it will be honored. So I'm learning a lot about myself. And I came in this world by myself. I'm leaving this hole by myself. I don't know when that's gonna be. That's not my, thought process or pattern right now. But until then, I'm living and I'm learning how to live every day more and more. Cause I only got one life. It's BubzDaGawd, baby. As far as this expression of BubzDaGawd, and I'm gonna do the best. Anyway, let's jump into chapter 11, y'all, because they down there cooking some stuff and my stomach is kind of growling. Okay. Anyway, chapter 11, 3 stages of liberation. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius and power and magic in it. Perpetual consciousness. It is not sufficient to taste the ascendant only during silent meditation with the eyes closed. The full development of consciousness requires a movement of the ascendant into daily life. Now, to accomplish this, life itself becomes the teacher. Every desire, conflict, problem is an opportunity presented by this flawless and wonderful teacher to release us from the false confines of the ego and learn that the ascendant is the underlying reality of everything. Once we start actively pursuing growth, every expansion shows us exactly which desires and aversions maintain our past destructive behavior patterns. Every life situation becomes an opportunity to grow towards enlightenment. As we become adept at renouncing all the previous mental constructs, we naturally develop a state of we naturally develop a state of evenness that carries us smoothly over and through the mirage of earth life. Oh, I'm sorry, the mirage. Excuse me, I said mirage. Andrew Caldwell, back up. There you go. Permanent renunciation of the ego's constructs radically alters our experience of the world. We are no longer enslaved by past destructive behavior patterns. Since the mind is freed from dominance by thoughts about the past and the future, we naturally experience and act spontaneously in the present for the good of all creatures. Life becomes extraordinary in its simplicity. The response to everything that comes to us is the same: acceptance, compassion, and unconditional love. The most common name in our Christian traditions for this state is praying without ceasing. One never loses the infinite inner peace of perfect realization. One is always connected with the source inside. Dr. Buck in 1897 named this first stage of enlightenment cosmic consciousness. Since this name has been rather poorly treated in this subsequent century, we prefer to call it today perpetual consciousness. Perpetual consciousness means that awareness of the ascendant is permanent or perpetual. One ancient name for this first plateau of enlightenment is nirvana. Nirvana comes from the Sanskrit nirva, to blow out. The fire of the ego's ignorance has been blown out. Somebody about to call me. Okay. Because I was like, girl, what's gonna happen? The fire of the ego's ignorance has been blown out because the fuel of its beliefs have been exhausted. Like a candle that has been snuffed out, all the old internal programs have been extinguished. Desire ceases to bind when every action is performed with complete consciousness. When each moment of life is lived spontaneously in the present moment. This is the natural byproduct of life fully established in the awareness of the Ascendant. Another name for perpetual consciousness is, Lord have mercy, Nirvikapala Samhadi. Ooh. That means permanent, and the S word means the ultimate. So permanent ultimate, okay, or flawless evenness. Praise him. Life becomes perfectly smooth and effortless when the individuality stops attempting to control or manipulate every aspect of existence. This is the natural result of having awareness permanently established in the infinite. One essential characteristic of perpetual consciousness is known as pragya in Sanskrit. Pragya is the power of the intellect that creates witnessing. The nervous system is sufficiently flexible to experience the continual silence of the Ascendant and at the same time the relative states of consciousness, waking, dreaming, and sleeping. The duality of awareness or witnessing is the first stage of enlightenment, hence the pragya called the mother of wisdom. Hence the prajna is called the mother of wisdom. Okay. The mind can be compared to a flock of birds that constantly change its shapes and direction and yet maintains its formation. When we begin to culture witnessing consciousness, sometimes we watch the birds fly. Sometimes we are the birds. When we are both at the same time continual, we have developed prajna fully. In the waking state, the common experience is, I think, I feel, I act. This is a confusion of levels of reality. Once our awareness is permanently established in the source, in the Ascendant, we recognize that all actions, thoughts, and feelings are external to the self. Life continues much as before, but now the individual does not mistake the source of thoughts, feelings, or actions as being the individual self. This experience of witnessing can be quite confusing to an inspirant, particularly if there is no one with sufficient knowledge available to explain what is happening. In extreme cases, it has been confused with insanity. And baby, when I tell you I was almost insane back in 2018, I'm telling y'all, go back into the archives of my YouTube channel, BubzDaGawd, that Ego Death series. Baby, I looked a mess. I felt a mess. Girl, I was living a mess, baby. And listen to the last part as well with my interview, and my explanation and the breakdown of everything with it. And y'all understand, because baby, I was about to be lost. For real, okay? The three, girl, it's gonna sound so hood, but I'm gonna say it the hood way. Gunners. It say Gunas. Gunners, Gunas. I'm gonna say Gunners because I'm, hood. When one experiences that thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and actions continue without being caused by the self, the question naturally arises: who is doing this thinking, feeling, and acting? The question is that the fundamental powers of nature, called in Sanskrit the gunas, or gunas, we gonna say gunas, girl, because it sounds more bougie. The gunas are responsible for everything in creation. I said earlier that the Ascendant is the source of everything that is. This is true, but the Ascendant never leaves its infinite ascendant status to create the universe. Where then did create the universe? Or where then did the universe come from? Girl, what? What, girl? Am I also reading this book in dimension 347 or something? Where is Doctor Strange? Where is America? And I don't want the one I'm living in. I want the one girl that was doing it. Where's she at? Where then did the universe come from? The answer is that it came from the three gunas, the three fundamental forces that cause everything to exist. It says sattva. I'm about to say it's called sativa. I'm smoking that, yes. This is sattva, okay? The first guna is the force of purity. Yes, sattva. The force of creative intelligence or evolution. Everything in the universe grows, matures, becomes more complex. Sattva is the infinitely creative force which causes this to happen. In Taoism, this is called yang. Yang is positive, male, expansive, heavenly, directed outward. The primal force of sattva manifests in the individual life as clarity of thought and purity of intention. When sattva guna, that sounded so good, and I hope it sounded right. It sounded good, Lord. Takes charge of an individual's life, happiness and health automatically develop. The white Ashayas model themselves, the white girl, where the black ones at, themselves as representatives of this guna of sattva or absolute purity as their path on earth. Girl, you got me giving you the Dr. Umar side eye. Sattva guna manifests throughout every aspect of creation. In terms of the three relative states of consciousness, sattva is maximal in the dreaming. In terms of the three enlightened states of consciousness, sattva is maximal in exalted consciousness, the second stage of enlightenment. Sattva is predominant in certain foods, in certain drinks, in certain perceptions, certain activities, certain emotions, and in certain thoughts. By gently redirecting our eating, drinking, perceiving, acting, thinking, and feeling, okay, we can turn our lives more and more in the direction of sattva. Sattva naturally increases in life as one ascends, bringing about deep inner peace, silence, clarity, creativity, joy, and perfect health. Sattva is ruled by the primal power of the Ascendant that maintains the evolutionary direction of the universe, called in Sanskrit Nirayana. In the Christian tradition, the Sattvic power is represented by the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost. Okay, this one is called Tamas. Lord, I hope I am saying this right. Please charge it to my head and not my heart. Don't send nobody after me in the spirit realm, okay? The opposite of sattva in every way is the guna known as tamas or inertia. Tamas is the yin to sattva's yang. It is negative, feminine, counteractive, earthly, directly inward. Yin is the ultimate receptivity, the perfect complement to the infinite creativity of yang. If sattva is light and white, tamas is dark and black. Girl, what is you talking about? I'm trying to read it with an open mind. Let me stop. Okay, we're trying to be free. Tamas is represented among the Ishayas by the mysterious black Ishaya masters who rarely appear at the monastery but dwell in seclusion and check in from time to time to keep the direction of John's Ascension flowing with his original intent. Girl, y'all talking about me. Girl, because sometimes seclusion be good, baby. I'm going to tell y'all about me. Even as my life grows and stuff, I'm going to take breaks. I'm going to take breaks. I already take naps, so I'm going to take some breaks, baby, okay? To make sure the eye's good, okay? Tamas is responsible for wisdom, intuition, and the inward direction of consciousness so necessary for growth of consciousness. This is why the aspect of the Ascendant which rules Tamas, Isha, is called in Sanskrit, girl, Yogirav, the king of the yogis. Tamas is necessary to destroy ignorance. This primal power must be in our favor if we wish to rise to complete consciousness. In the Christian tradition, Tamas is represented by the Christ aspect of the Trinity. Christ destroys the ignorance of the world and replaces it with the truth of pure, unconditional love, pure bliss. Just as increasing sattva brings happiness and creativity, An imbalance of increasing tamas on earth brings unhappiness, depression, disease, and sloth. As with sattva, with certain foods, drinks, perceptions, actions, thoughts, and feelings that increase tamas. When this increases in life, life becomes sick, depressed, sad. Excessive sleep brings about the imbalance of tamas. Four of the three relative states of consciousness, tamas is maximal in sleep. In the three absolute states of consciousness, tamas is maximal in the highest degree of enlightenment, in unity. In this state, all perception of duality has been destroyed. Rajas. Sattva and tamas, all that sound, girl, I hope I ain't offending nobody saying this shit, girl, but it just feels so right coming off the tongue. Sattva and tamas always work together. Nothing can change or evolve or even be created until the previous state is destroyed. A bud dies so a flower can bloom, and we praise God for that flower again, the flower of the day. That's the thing I want to call it. The flower of the day is cement shoes. Praise Him. A boy dies so a man can be born. The connecting link between sattva and tamas is the guna known as rajas. The infinite tension between pure creation and pure destruction create the third guna, the guna of energy, rajas. Rajas is neutral in direction until it is applied to creation or destruction. It is responsible for the waking state, for waking is activity. It is also dominant in perpetual consciousness, for the external world continues more or less exactly as it was in the first stage of enlightenment. Only the inner reality has opened to perception of the Ascendant. The outside continues on. Among the Ashayas, Rajas is represented by the red Ashayas, who will be most responsible for teaching Ascension in the world. The active red Ashayas, guided by the purity of the whites and aligned by the wisdom of the blacks, Lord, will heal the world. In Sanskrit, the primal force of Rajas is represented by Prajapati, the creator. In the Christian tradition, God the Father embodies the qualities of Rajas. As with sattva and tamas, there are certain foods, drinks, perceptions, actions, thoughts, and feelings that increase rajas in the life. An imbalance of rajas leads to passion, to anger, to violence. Rajas tempered by sattva bequeaths the energy necessary to achieve anything in life, including, of course, the energy to rise to enlightenment. This is why it is said that action is the means to develop perpetual consciousness, but silence is the means to develop the more refined states of enlightenment. The human world is the world of Rajas. We as humans stand on the threshold of sattva and of tamas, capable of moving in either direction, but by our thoughts and actions, we create heaven or hell in our lives. We stand on the borderline of the visible and the invisible. Living in material, physical bodies, we are nevertheless made of spirit. By our choice, we enliven, I believe that's how you say it, enliven and live, and I'm saying enliven the heavenly qualities of sattva or the earthly qualities of tamas. But by our choice, our lives rise to joy and health or fall to unhappiness and death. Be without the three gunas. The formula for success in life is to free oneself from the influence of the three gunas. But how is this done? By ascending, by taking the awareness of its source in the Ascendant. When this happens, one experiences that thoughts, feelings, and perceptions and actions continue. They always were caused by the action and interaction of the fundamental forces of nature. But now there is no longer any ego involvement. There is no longer any thought that I am thinking, feeling, perceiving, acting. The three gunas playing on the gunas give rise to thought. The gunas playing on the gunas give rise to feelings. The gunas playing on the gunas give rise to perception. The gunas playing on the gunas give rise to action. Thus, the entire field of human life, subjective and objective, is under the dominion of the gunas. In the waking state, we mistakenly assume authorship for our thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and actions. This mistake is corrected in perpetual consciousness. In every experience, in every thought, in every action, the enlightened realizes that I do not act at all. Everything comes from the gunas acting on the gunas. When this is understood, not as a dry intellectual concept, but as a direct living experience, perpetual consciousness is stabilized. Perpetual consciousness is perfect freedom. Since we realize it is only the activities of nature that are causing our thoughts and experiences, we can direct our life in any way we choose. No longer subject to the old destructive internal programming, we create any new structures of habit and belief we desire. The mind, no longer caught by the ego-based fearful thinking, rests in perfect inner joy. No more are we chained to the past experiences or future worries. Life is lived continually in the present moment. Life unfolds in perfection, for we no longer believe that our rational mind controls anything. Life unfolds in perfection, for we no longer believe that our rational mind controls anything. Just as in the waking state, we have no control over the hemoglobin carrying oxygen to our cells and have little ability to consciously change all the myriad electrical and chemical processes in the body, just so in perpetual consciousness, all of our mental processes, thoughts, feelings, perceptions, actions become completely automatic. Because we have ceased undermining the perfect flowing of life from the Ascendant, everything about our individual lives becomes successful and supremely fulfilling. Life is lived in perfection. Maharishi Patanjali, one of the earliest founders of the yogi philosophy, wrote in his Yogi Sutras nearly 5,000 years ago, Lord help me to pronounce this, Himya Dhamad Anakamatam. It means that the suffering that has not yet come deserves to be avoided. Now, how does this happen? It is a natural result of permanently establishing the individual awareness of perpetual consciousness. When we stop usurping the authority of the three gunas, all of life flows perfectly for us. No suffering is possible in this state. Patanjali also noted that when we establish ourselves in asteya, not stealing, then all ratna, priceless wealth, presents itself to us automatically. When we stop stealing the authority from our thoughts, feelings, perceptions, and actions from nature, we have perfected asteya. All good and wonderful things come to those who have risen to perpetual consciousness, not the least of which is freedom from involuntary rebirth. Perpetual consciousness develops extraordinarily. Lord have mercy. Lord. Perpetual consciousness develops extraordinarily quickly as a result of regular ascension. Did you just beat me because I was wrong? I might have been. So what? It does not take nearly as long to rewrite the internal programs as it took to create them in the first place. And I say that fortunately. If we had to relive or consciously desecrate all the horrors we have created in our minds and world, Who would have the courage even to begin? I mean, fortunately, it is not necessary. Through ascension, we gracefully, without even being aware that it is happening, erase all the old beliefs, habits, judgments that keep life bound to the waking state of consciousness. The typical result of 5 to 8 years of regularly practiced ascension is that perpetual consciousness dawns in any nervous system, regardless how stressed it was at the outset. This ultimately depends on 4 factors. First, how regular the individual is with his or her practice. Just as with gravity, it takes a certain acceleration to escape the pull of the Earth, 9.8 meters per second squared. It takes a certain rate of acceleration to escape from the old destructive behavior patterns. This is most easily accomplished by one pointed dedication to regularity of the practice. Secondly, how much stress there is in the nervous system at the beginning of the practice. Some people are a whole lot more stressed than others due to excessive or imbalanced behavior patterns throughout their lives. Age is, of course, also a factor in this. The general rule is the longer the life, the more stressed the body. The arteries of an infant look like flexible plastic tubing. The arteries of a typical what is the word? Octogenarian, that's what it sounds like, are filled with deposits and plaque, are brittle and look very much like old and rigid water supply system pipes. Third, how much stress the individual is adding to his or her nervous system every day. Some lifestyles are much more stressful than others. Regardless how efficient a filtering system, if the pond is being filled by more mud and toxic waste every day that can be removed, it will continue to decrease in quality. And fourth, lastly, how badly the individual wants to be free from his or her self-destructive patterns. The more intense for the zeal for change, the faster the change will come. This is true for anything, of course. The more one practices the piano, the faster one learns the piano. But all things considered, the typical average is 5 to 8 years. It is a little surprising that it takes even longer than this. Where is there to go after all? The ascendant is already inside everyone. The reason it takes some time is simply that we are so deeply conditioned by our habitual modes of thinking, seeing, and acting that old habits tend to die hard. Exalted consciousness. How is it possible that there can how is it possible that there can be that there what is going on? How is it possible that there can be how girl is the words playing trick on me? Is this a misspell? How is it possible that there be development? That's what it says, y'all, of consciousness beyond perpetual consciousness. In perpetual consciousness, infinite awareness of the ascendant has been permanently established. Where could there be room for more growth? I mean, logically, there cannot be. This fact has led many individuals in the past to remain stuck in perpetual consciousness. Stuck is in quotes in the book it shows in that sentence because the eternal freedom of perpetual consciousness is not accurately described as a state of non-motion, particularly when compared to the ignorance of the waking state, but compared to what else is available. Remaining until death in perpetual consciousness is being stuck. The mind is fulfilled in perpetual consciousness for the blocks to the individual awareness, remembering that it is infinite has been removed. The mind therefore sees no potential for further growth, but the heart is not satisfied. Before, in the waking state, there was at least a kind of unity with the loved person or object. What was lost was awareness of the unbounded inner self, but at least there was a level of enjoyment in this pseudo union. Every level of creation has its corresponding level of happiness, even in the waking state. Excuse me for that noise. So when in perpetual consciousness, the mind is content with the infinite duality between the self and everything else, the heart feels dissatisfied, for the former unity has been lost. Well, the mind says, well, logically, there can be no more, but the heart responds, wait a while and see. There is an old saying, the heart knows no reason. It may be completely unreasonable that there could possibly be growth past the recognition that we are infinite, but the heart is not to be so easily defeated, not even by the absolute. Infinity may stand between the heart's desire, but the heart will storm the citadel of eternity if it must, to reunite with its surrendered beloved, baby. And the heart's only ally in this, of course, is the ultimate reality of everything, which is love. See, the heart loves. The individual, freed from all destructive internal programs, no longer attempts to live in the past or the future, and no longer sabotages the natural impulse of love. In the waking state, love rises only to be eclipsed by doubt, fear, projection, and misinterpretation. There is no consistency of love in that state of consciousness, for the ego self is never consistent. Not living in the present moment, the individual is often caught by regret, worry, and fear. There is little room for perfect unconditional love, but love for everyone and everything simultaneously blossoms for one who lives in the present without judgments from the past or fear for the future. Since love spontaneously flows, it becomes easier and easier to love everyone and everything. This state of automatically increasing love begins to change our senses of perception. We begin to experience more and more refined levels of every object. Even in the waking state, it is the experience that when we are in love, we don't much notice the boundaries and limitations of life. We are too busy riding the waves of enjoyment. This quality of increasing appreciation naturally opens us to the ability to love more deeply. Appreciation and love feed each other more and more easily and thoroughly once the undermining tendencies of the old belief systems have been stilled. Refined perception. How much we got left? Let's see. Oh, we good. We got a few more pages, y'all. About 5 more pages and we done. Because I'm starting to get hungry, baby. Refined perception. The body has built into its wondrous structure the mechanics of much subtler styles of functioning. Approximately 90% of the material of the genetic code, for example, is encoded with no known function in the waking state. This is one of the greatest mysteries of modern genetic research. While only in the DNA is nature, typically so ruthless in her efficiency, squandering over 9/10 of the building blocks. One answer is that many of these blank sections of code are non-functional only in the relative states of consciousness, waking, dreaming, and sleeping. In the three enlightened states, certain parts of the DNA start functioning to create protein molecules that have no purpose in the relative states. Two of the most important of these are named Soma and Amrita in the ancient literature. Soma is called the glue of the universe. This molecule allows us to develop perception of the subtlest level of creation, that level of reality which holds everything joined to the Ascendant. When soma increases in the body, the senses of perception gradually improve their abilities. Everything begins to be experienced in its celestial value, the most refined level of relative structure. This is true for vision. Soma allows us to see all objects filled with or made of infinite light, of purest beauty. This is true for hearing. This is true for hearing. Soma allows us to hear the subtlest level of sound. Every sound is exquisite in its perfection. This is true for our sense of smell. Every scent is robust with fragrant wonder. This is true for touch. Every physical sensation surpasses the wonder of the softest silk. This is true for taste. Every bite is sweeter than the sweetest sugar, a marvel of cascading delight. A prime result of this deeply refined level of perception is to make life supremely enjoyable. A second result can also be the ability to see and communicate with the beings that live on the subtler levels of reality. The angels, celestials, devas, elementals, gods. This state is the incarnation of magnificence. Every moment is lived to the maximum. Soma transforms our clay-like bodies into temples of God's light. Celestial perception is the norm in exalted consciousness. Every perception is wonder. Truth and beauty and love are the handmaidens of this, the second stage of enlightenment. Amrita is the molecule that bequeaths physical immortality. There is nothing built in the genetic code that insists that human beings must age and die. There is no absolute law that the damage caused by the free radicals ranging our bodies cannot be perfectly repaired forever. Rather, every cell desires to replicate perfectly. Why does this not happen? Stress. What is the word? Radioisotope studies, girl, that's what it sounds like, have proven that every year, 98% of the molecules in our bodies are replaced. Some parts are replaced much more often. For example, the stomach lining, in terms of the molecules creating the cells, is completely new every 5 days. We have a new liver every 6 weeks, a new skeleton every 6 months. Girl, I needed another one that's taller than 5'2". A whole new body, 100% replaced every 2 years. Even the nerve cells, which themselves are not replaced after birth, are renewed every year by the changing of the atoms that compose them. The problem is that in the waking state, we keep rebuilding the body in exactly the same way. If we have a malformed knee due to some old injury, we continue to replace the atoms in the knee in the same way so that true healing never occurs. This is no reason. There is no reason that this has to be so. There is no reason that life has to end at 75. These are simply beliefs. We don't normally recognize them as beliefs since they are so deep in the collective unconsciousness, but beliefs they are. If we change our mind deeply enough, we can become familiar with the master programmer, the impulse of our consciousness that determines exactly where these belief systems are being maintained. One feature of exalted consciousness is the ability to reverse all the old belief systems, including the belief in death. Amrita is the physical molecule that enables us to regenerate our body indefinitely. Unity. Unity. Cold-blooded, no dictionary book. The final step of growth of human consciousness. Go there. Hope this pop filter doing its job. The final step of growth of human consciousness comes when the refined value of celestial perception melts into continual awareness of the ascendant on the outside. This is the highest level of enlightenment and is known as unified perpetual consciousness, or unity. Perpetual consciousness sounds impossible from the perspective of the waking state. How can the infinite be seen, heard, touched, tasted, smelled? Like, it makes sense only from the standpoint of one who has risen to awareness of infinite consciousness on the inside, in perpetual consciousness. Then only does this becomes a practical quest. There is no resolution to our heart's longing until every individual, every object is experienced as being the same infinite self that we know on the inside. How does this final stage of growth occur? Through an act of intellectual discrimination. The enlightened individual experiences the celestial light melt into infinity and beyond. This infinite perceived on the outside is recognized as the same infinite known on the inside. Said another way, the individual discovers that his cosmic beloved is his own self. Funnily enough, all love ends up directed back at the self. It is not directed back at the limited self of the waking state. That self cannot love anything or anyone consistently. The love is directed back at the universal cosmic self of the enlightened mind. This results in the full awareness that each and every one is a spark of the divine flame, that each and every one is the same beneath all the surface differences. What sparks this ultimate realization, right? Certain treaties on the subject of unity were written by individuals in unity. I'm about to mess all these names up. The Brahma Sutras of Badarayana, the Upanishad, girl, I'm about to say Upanishads, yes, no. The Upanishads, the Maharamayana of the Valmiki, A Course in Miracles, the entire Vedanta, literally the end of Veda, philosophy in ancient India was designed for those in the second stage of enlightenment, exalted consciousness, to rise to unity. Each of these texts is not only virtually useless in the waking state, but are potentially extremely confusing. Another catalyst for of this transformation can be the direct words of the fully enlightened to the aspirant standing at the last doorway to unity. Thou art that. All this is that. There is nothing greater than that. That, of course, refers to the Ascendant. At the appropriate instant of time, these great words, Maha Vakayas, Lord, irrevocably crush the last taint of limitation in the mind of the evolving soul. Or this transformation can occur in countless numbers of ways. Nature herself creates the necessary conditions so that it must happen. And baby, 2018 was mine, okay? How does individual life continue to function in unity? Karma, or action, is divided into two types. That which is returning, regardless of our present actions, and that which lies as if dormant. Dormant because it had no chance to reach us in this lifetime. The results of our past actions are comparable to seeds. A tiny fraction of these seeds have already sprouted and is going to have effects in this life. It is as if a small amount of the storehouse of our karma has gone on into building a bridge into our current existence. Beyond this bridge lies the vast majority of our past karma, comparable to mountains ranging of grain, awaiting the appropriate conditions to grow. Ascending is a divine fire which roasts these seeds so they no longer have the potential to sprout. Okay, chestnuts roasting. The bridge burned. There is no longer a connection with the past. The karma no longer has the potential to return. The seeds have been roasted in the flames and fires of wisdom. The karma that has already sprouted creates, Lord, Lisha Vidya, the last remains of ignorance. This is what keeps the body and the mind functioning in unity. The life continues on by force of habit. The individual essence is experienced as a thin, almost invisible membrane between two fullnesses. The inner self is infinite. The outer world is infinite. What is left of the individual is the faint, translucent boundary between these two fullnesses. This is what is meant in these words, Lord. Upanishads, I say Upanishads, by Purnam Adha, Purnam Idam. This is full, that is full. This infinite, unchanging internal experience of eternity is not different from the infinite, unchanging external experience of eternity. These two fullnesses are experienced as one. This is what my teacher meant when he said 200% of life is the birthright of every human being. All glories, earthly and divine, await those who are intelligent enough to seek enlightenment. And ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the end of chapter 11. I'm so proud of us. I'm so proud of us. We made it with 2 chapters, y'all. How are y'all feeling about this before I go ahead and go? Because it's 8 something. I got to get this workout done, which I am not looking forward to because I like working out. I do. But I really, really do not like leg day. It's one of the most challenging things. But going through leg day and doing what I do helps to build my concentration, dedication. And again, like this book said, to establish a greater understanding of self and pushing yourself and knowing your limits. And when you know your limits, you can then transcend them. So I hope that you all enjoyed these two chapters. I'm gonna have to, matter of fact, while I'm doing this, let me go ahead and change this real quick. Hold on. Let me go ahead and get this Canva thing and fix this. Let me do chapter 10 and 11. Change this thumbnail right now. Get all this stuff done. So when I'm done, I can cut this computer off. Okay, and I can go on with my life. Chapter 10 and 11. Okay, so now shout out to Canva. Baby, Canva is amazing, baby. Canva, it's about, I love platforms that have all these creative templates and all these different things to inspire you, and then also have such tools to where you could really be limitless with your creation. So shout out to them. Okay, and y'all better get a Canva Pro. That stuff is amazing. But I hope that you all enjoyed it. Especially, I love Canva. Okay, shout out to Canva. And that's the thing too. Shout out to all of these, like I said, platforms and things that, and apps that allow people to expand in their creative energy. Because we're forgetting the God in us. We're forgetting the creative aspect in us. But at the same time, there is a reemergence of creative energy, artists doing things out of the norm, like searching for God in places where a lot of us wouldn't think God would be. And it'd be so crazy, y'all, because a lot of us don't even feel like God is inside of us, girl, which is why we go so hard on the outside, girl, and he gets so mad. I did all this for you. Girl, but did you do it for you is the question. That's the $1 trillion question, girl. Did you do it for yourself? But yes, I want y'all to go ahead. If you have not followed me on Instagram yet, please follow me on Instagram, IG BubzDaGawd, everything BubzDaGawd, okay? And I'm gonna put up a poll. I'm gonna put up 3 books, and I want y'all perspective on it, because I do want to do a book club, and I still want to figure out the book club. Like, do we have like a chapter or something to read in advance, and then we come together and maybe I can read the chapter and then we can all have a discussion about it? Like, we'll figure all that out. But I'm gonna do that. And you glad I did this today? Thank you. I've been wanting to do this recently because in my spirit, it's just like I said, I really be trying to apply this stuff to my life. You know what I'm saying? and finding out what works for me, because that's what life is. Life is the best teacher, and accepting fear and accepting failure as part of the process, not looking at them as, oh my God, I'm a failure, oh I'm this. Like, no, being able to call yourself out and then move accordingly, move in a different type of way, not having a guilt consciousness about it, but to actually change and do better. That's all you can do. But again, thank y'all for listening. I really appreciate it. I hope that this has helped you in the midst of all of my stuttering mess, girl. But that's all right, girl. It just means God is showing out. And God's showing out through this leprechaun, babe, and I'm going to let it work. Okay? I love reading and books. This would be cool. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to submit some books. And then, of course, as the book club grows, you know, I'll be definitely taking submissions because I want to learn as well. There's still a book that I low-key want to read that Megan taught me or told me about. What's it called? I got it in my reminders. The 1619 project. I want to do that and see what that's about, you know. But I'm glad that y'all enjoy it. And like I said, if it's one people, two people, three people's, I don't care, because you don't know how God is working out through those who listen. That's why I'm nice to everybody. If it's one thing a person gonna always remember about you, they're gonna remember how you made them feel. And at least I try my best to make people feel good. Not in a self-serving way, but in a way of like, girl, when you know that you got shit going on in your life and that's good and fruitful and life-giving, and you are experiencing this stuff for yourself, you want to share with other people. It's called the good news for a reason. And my thing is, it's your good news. It ain't gonna be like my good news. Our good news is gonna be different. But just have enough good news for me to share, to inspire others to find out what their good news is, because you're here for a reason. You have your own individual, unique fingerprint. There is nobody in the world like you, baby. There's no one in the world like BubzDaGawd. There's no one in the world like Beyonce. There's no one in the world like Let's Talk, like Spicy, like Roki. There's only one you. So shine in you. God, Source Universe, saw fit for you to be here. In the midst, in spite what others might think and believe through their own insecurities and projections, girl, you still here. So live your life. It's only yours. And you get to decide how that shit lived. I'm 5'2", girl, about to live my whole best life, girl, about to have motherfucking 6'3", girl, trying to get at me. How this gonna work? We gonna find a way. Okay? When there's a will, there's a way. And I got a ladder. I got some stuff covered. But anyway, I thank y'all for rocking with me for over 2 hours. I appreciate it. And who knows? Because we only got 4 more chapters left. So I might come through again this week. I don't know. We gonna see and play it by ear. But I enjoyed this. Thank y'all again for the opportunity for me to do this. Thank y'all for being consistent with this as well and coming through and listening to the installments, whether it's in real time, whether it's you peeking in real quick, whether it's the replay, or whether this month from now. I just appreciate y'all for just being y'all. Ooh, this weed good, baby. I'm gonna get through this workout, Lord. I need all the prayers. Okay. And this leg day. Okay. And I gotta do squats. And then I gotta do some lunges up these stairs, girl. Oh, I can't. No. I'm gonna be all right. I'm gonna be okay. Y'all have a good night. Have the rest of a good evening. Enjoy yourselves. And remember, y'all, what the mind conceives and the heart believes, the hand will achieve. Y'all got power. Baby, can't nobody have power over you unless you give them permission, okay? Don't let these motherfuckers trigger you, girl. Learn your triggers so you won't be triggered, okay? Praise him. Y'all have a good one. Enjoy the rest of the noise, the music, the sound, the vibrations, girl, on the way out. And I'll talk to y'all. Peace.